I fell in love too. I saw the red flags, I ignored them, and I see why.
It's completely ridiculous.
The world watched in disbelief as Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively filed a shocking lawsuit against It Ends With Us co-star Justin Baldoni, accusing him of sexual assault during filming. But now, just days after the bombshell allegations made headlines, fresh footage shows what appears to be a full-blown argument between the once picture-perfect couple. Now, the cracks in their own relationship are being aired for the world to see. So what exactly is going on in Camp Reynolds Lively? And could this be the beginning of a much bigger fallout? The social media storm. Let's start by spilling all the scalding hot tea on what's actually going on with Hollywood's golden couple and why social media is having an absolute field day with this story. Grab your popcorn, because this tea is piping hot and ready to be served. First things first, let's address the elephant in the room. Is there actually footage of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds having a physical altercation? What we're seeing is a perfect storm of their ongoing legal battle with Justin Baldoni, their infamous social media trolling history, and a whole bunch of receipts about Blake's allegedly problematic behavior that have all converged into one massive viral moment. Let's set the scene. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni co-starred in It Ends With Us, a film adaptation of Colleen Hoover's novel that deals with domestic violence. Baldoni also directed the film. You'd think a movie with such a serious theme would have everyone on their best behavior, but according to court documents, it was the complete opposite. In December 2024, Blake filed a bombshell lawsuit against Justin Baldoni, claiming he sexually harassed her and orchestrated a smear campaign to damage her reputation. The lawsuit claimed Baldoni created a hostile work environment through inappropriate and sexually charged behavior. Specifically, Blake alleged that Justin improvised a kissing scene without an intimacy coordinator, dragged his lips down her neck during a scene, barged in while she was breastfeeding, and even pressured her to lose weight. Like, excuse me? In what universe is this acceptable behavior? But wait, there's more to this story than meets the eye, because in January 2025, Justin didn't just deny these allegations. He clapped back with a $400 million countersuit against Blake and Ryan Reynolds, accusing them of defamation and extortion. Baldoni claimed that Blake's allegations were completely fabricated and part of a calculated effort to seize control of the film's production. He even went as far as to claim Blake was trying to bury any negative publicity about her own conduct. But here's where it gets really spicy. According to Baldoni's lawsuit, Ryan Reynolds allegedly berated him during a meeting, and Blake referred to Ryan and another mega celebrity friend, which many believe is Taylor Swift, as her dragons who would spit fire at her command. I mean, who talks like that outside of Game of Thrones fan fiction?
Annoying to have a director that's the best dressed person on set at all times.
Yeah. We were in a muddy field, and that was the only time I ever saw him in what was a very crisp denim, a very dark, crisp denim with a rolled cuff.
In the lawsuit, Blake literally wrote that she's Khaleesi, and like her, I happen to have a few dragons, for better or worse, but usually for better, because my dragons also protect those I fight for. So we all benefit from those gorgeous monsters of mine. You will too, I can promise you. Referring to her husband Ryan Reynolds and BFF Taylor Swift as her dragons, who would attack at her command. I'm sorry, but who does she think she is? The mother of dragons? This isn't Westeros, honey. The most ironic part? In Game of Thrones, Khaleesi ends up getting taken down by Jon Snow, who has a man bun, just like Justin Baldoni. Blake's text message unknowingly predicted her own downfall in this legal battle, and it gets even messier. Baldoni also filed a separate $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times, claiming the newspaper endorsed Blake's narrative by publishing an article with inaccuracies. Following the article's publication, Baldoni was dropped by his talent agency, WME, which coincidentally also represents Blake and Ryan. That's not suspicious at all, right? What's really fascinating here is how the public's perception of Blake has shifted dramatically during this whole ordeal. Once America's sweetheart from Gossip Girl, Blake is now facing serious backlash as more and more questionable behavior comes to light. For example, while promoting It Ends With Us, a film about domestic violence, Blake encouraged fans to wear your florals, grab your girlfriends, and go see this film, treating it like it was 27 dresses or something instead of a serious film about abuse. She even used the press tour to promote her hair care line, Blake Brown, and her beverage brand, Betty Buzz. Meanwhile, Justin was focusing on the film's themes of gender-based violence. The contrast couldn't have been more stark.
When she made that statement, Blake pointed to Leighton even though she was beside her to further show that she was referring to her. This is wild because she also made similar jokes, calling her co-stars monkeys on that press tour.
Chuck has a matching pet monkey with coordinating outfits, and I was like, I would love to be part of the show, but I can't act with a monkey.
Then there's this absolutely cringe footage from a press tour where Blake made some seriously messed up comments about her Gossip Girl co-star Leighton Leighton Meester. She literally pointed at Leighton and compared her co-stars to monkeys, saying Leighton started life from the cage, which is a direct reference to the fact that Leighton was born while her mother was in prison. Like, who says that about someone's traumatic childhood? That's not just shade, that's full-on eclipse darkness. And let's not forget about Blake's other problematic moments, like her 2012 wedding to Ryan Reynolds at Boone Hall Plantation in South Carolina, a literal slavery plantation. Reynolds later expressed regret, stating, "What we saw at the time was a wedding venue on Pinterest. What we saw after was a place built upon devastating tragedy. You couldn't Google the venue before booking? It's called research, bestie." Blake's lifestyle website, Preserve, also featured a post titled "The Allure of Antebellum," which romanticized the pre-Civil War South without acknowledging its ties to slavery. The site was shut down after a year, but the internet never forgets, does it?
As I've said before, my first advice as a lawyer to all possible clients: don't do criming on tape. Criming on tape is stupid and bad, and don't do it. It's not a crime to do this, but it does make it look a little suspicious that you are using exactly these tactics against Justin Baldoni, apparently.
And then there's this absolutely wild resurfaced clip of Blake Lively basically admitting on camera that she manipulates people to get what she wants on movie sets. In the clip, she confesses that she would show up to auditions pretending to be just a simple actress who would say her lines and stand on her mark, but once she got the job, she would try to take over creative control of the project.
Well, it turns out that Blake Lively was caught on tape talking about how she manipulates people around her in order to take control of the movies upon which she works. Oops! Oops! That turns out to be a bad tactic.
She literally says, "I wouldn't reveal that I actually need to have authorship in order to feel fulfilled." So I think that for them, sometimes that might have felt like a rug pull because you're trying to assert yourself into something that we didn't hire you to do. And then she did exactly that to Justin Baldoni. Talk about telling on yourself. But wait, there's more. Let's talk about how Blake and Ryan present themselves on social media versus what might be happening behind closed doors. The couple is famous for their playful trolling of each other online. You know the type. Ryan posts unflattering photos of Blake for her birthday, Blake crops. Ryan out of photos and focuses on other celebrities instead. It's all very couple goals on the surface, but some people are starting to wonder if this constant online trolling is actually masking deeper issues. Candace Owens discussed on her podcast that there have been long-standing rumors about Reynolds, suggesting they don't look like just rumors. She even speculated that Reynolds' supposed emotional struggles might stem from denying his truth, portraying him as a vicious person who's lashing out. Now, I'm not saying I agree with Candace Owens on literally anything ever, but it does make you wonder what's really going on with Hollywood's supposedly perfect couple. Even more tellingly, Ryan and Blake made a cameo at the SNL 50th anniversary special, where Ryan alluded to their legal drama. The fact that they're willing to joke about such serious allegations on national television says a lot about how they're approaching this whole situation. Like it's all just one big joke to them. Blake's mean girl reputation exposed. Let's get even deeper into Blake's alleged mean girl behavior that's been lurking beneath her perfectly curated public image. Strap in because the tea is about to overflow. Let's be real. Blake Lively has always presented herself as America's golden girl, the talented actress with the perfect hair, perfect husband, perfect family, and perfect life. But as we're learning, that perfect image might be nothing more than smoke and mirrors. Behind that million-dollar smile might be someone who's earned a reputation for being, well, not so nice. Let's start with this absolutely wild revelation from the It Ends With Us set. According to the lawsuit, Blake strongly suggested that Justin Baldoni get a rhinoplasty to correct his nose. Yes, you heard that right. She told her director and co-star that he should get a nose job. And the best part? She didn't know this comment was caught on camera because Justin's microphone was on during their conversation. Imagine having the audacity to tell someone they need to change their appearance when you're supposed to be working together professionally. It's giving major Regina George vibes. But wait, it gets worse. According to the lawsuit, Blake took great offense when Justin asked about her weight because he needed to know if it was safe to lift her due to his back infection. Like, he was literally asking for medical reasons because he was injured, and she turned it into this whole thing about her weight. Meanwhile, she had no problem telling him to get plastic surgery. Make it make sense. And let's talk about Blake's interaction with Jamie Heath, a producer on It Ends With Us, who also happens to be the CEO of Wayfarer Studios and Justin's best friend. According to reports, Blake asked Jamie and other executives to meet in her trailer. When Jamie knocked and entered, he found Blake having makeup removed from her collarbone while breastfeeding. Jamie asked if he should return later, but Blake told them to proceed with the meeting. 2 weeks later, Blake confronted Jamie, saying she had seen him make eye contact with her during that meeting, which made Jamie immediately apologize and say he didn't realize he looked her way. Blake's response? "I know you weren't trying to cop a look." What? First of all, she invited him into her trailer, told him to stay for the meeting, and then later accused him of inappropriate eye contact. And did I mention that Jamie is a black man? This whole interaction is giving major racist vibes, especially considering Blake's history with her plantation wedding and her comments about fashionable items from the slavery era. Big yikes. And speaking of Blake trying to control things, let's revisit that damning video where she literally admits to manipulating people on set. In the clip, she says, "I would show up on a set. I knew that they just wanted me to show up and look cute and stand on a little pink sticker where I'm supposed to go and say what I'm supposed to say. But I also knew that, that wasn't fulfilling for me. That I wanted to be a part of the storytelling, that I wanted to be a part of the narrative, whether that be in the writing, in the costume design, in creating the character." She then goes on to say, "Yet, when I went in the meetings, I would just seem like I'm just there to be the actor and ready to get the gig. I wouldn't reveal that I actually need to have authorship in order to feel fulfilled." So I think that for them, sometimes that might have felt like a rug pull because you're trying to assert yourself into something that we didn't hire you to do. Sweetie, that's called lying and manipulation. You're literally admitting to pretending to be one thing to get hired and then completely changing once you're on set. And then you did the exact same thing to Justin Baldoni. The audacity is actually breathtaking.
So first of all, let me point out to Blake Lively, you are an actress. Unless you signed on as a producer or a director, there's literally no reason why your creative input should matter. You're an actor. If you want to write your own script, you should go write your own script. If you want to sign on to a movie with the understanding that you're going to actually make script changes, then great.
And he's absolutely right. If Blake wanted creative control, she should have been upfront about it from the beginning. Instead, she apparently tried to take power on the set, compromising Justin's vision for the film. No wonder the crew is speaking out against her. In fact, a storyboard artist named Talia Spencer supported Baldoni, stating Blake smelled his kindness, mistook it for weakness, and tried to take advantage. Ouch. That's not exactly a glowing character reference, is it? But Blake's alleged mean girl behavior doesn't stop at the It Ends With Us set. Let's talk about some of her past interviews and interactions that are now coming back to haunt her. For example, there was a 2016 interview with journalist Kirsty Flaw that later went viral with the title, "The Blake Lively Interview That Made Me Want to Quit My Job." In the interview, Flaw congratulated Blake on her little bump. She was pregnant at the time, and Blake responded irritably, avoiding eye contact. It was so uncomfortable that the journalist later said it made her want to quit her job. That's how bad it was. Then there's the time Blake told fans to quiet down on a red carpet, and when a fan gave her a beaded bracelet, she said, "I'm going to put it here because it doesn't go with my outfit, but I will wear it later." Imagine being so ungrateful to someone who made you a gift. Most celebrities would be touched by such a gesture, but not our girl Blake, apparently. And let's not forget about the time Blake mocked Kate Middleton's photoshopped images to promote her Betty Buzz beverage brand, only to express remorse after Middleton's cancer diagnosis was revealed. Read the room, Blake. Using someone else's personal struggles to promote your fizzy water is not the flex you think it is. But perhaps most telling is Blake's treatment of her former Gossip Girl co-stars, particularly Leighton Meester. During a press tour, Blake not only compared her co-stars to monkeys, but also said Leighton started life from the cage, a cruel reference to Leighton being born while her mother was in prison.
And then I got a few of them.
Got a few of them.
Come on, it was a joke.
And then went ahead to say Leighton started life from the cage, which is a direct shade to Leighton, who was born in prison. Leighton has publicly spoken about her story and how her parents were behind bars when she was born.
My parents had been part of a very interesting lifestyle, I guess you could say.
They were in prison.
Yes, okay.
But that wasn't the only time Blake came for Leighton on that press tour.
As if that wasn't bad enough, Blake also said, "Everyone knows blondes are nicer anyway," which is extra shady considering Leighton is naturally blonde, but had to dye her hair brunette for her role as Blair Waldorf in Gossip Girl. It's like Blake was trying to say she's nicer than Leighton because her character was blonde while Leighton's wasn't. The pettiness is off the charts. And speaking of petty, let's talk about how Blake and Ryan allegedly behaved during their legal battle with Justin Baldoni. According to reports, Blake and Ryan served Justin with legal papers while he was evacuating from the Los Angeles wildfires that put many lives and properties in danger. Yes, while Justin's family was organizing their kids and pets and preparing their go bags in response to evacuation orders, Blake's messengers tracked him down to serve him legal papers. Talk about kicking someone when they're down. But it gets even worse. Blake and Ryan allegedly looked up to Justin to speak up to save Blake from public backlash when the controversy started spreading. But they didn't kindly go about this because they threatened Justin and even wrote him a statement that he could read to the public. They literally tried to control what he would say to defend Blake, which is manipulation on a whole other level. And let's not forget about how Blake treated the serious subject matter of It Ends With Us. According to the agreement made before Blake even joined the production, 1% of the film's proceeds would be donated to support survivors of domestic violence. But when Blake came on board, she refused to meet with No More, an organization dedicated to ending domestic violence. This shows where her priorities really lie, certainly not with the survivors the film was supposed to support. To make it even worse, she promoted her businesses with the theme of It Ends With Us and named one of the drinks in her alcoholic line after Ryle, the abusive character in the story. Imagine naming a fun cocktail after a domestic abuser. It's like calling a drink the OJ Special or the Chris Brown Punch. Absolutely tasteless. Now, some people might defend Blake, arguing that all of this is exaggerated or taken out of context. And sure, some of it might be, but when there's this much smoke, there's usually fire. And the fact that so many separate incidents and testimonies paint a similar picture of Blake as entitled, manipulative, and mean-spirited suggests there might be some truth to these allegations.
Let's talk about some other potential similarities, shared pop culture reference points for you guys. I want to see, because it seems like there are some things you both enjoy. Both Potter fans? What do you say? Who's the bigger Harry Potter fan?
Well, I screwed up and said Horcrux earlier today when I meant Patronus, so I feel like my badge needs to be like stripped away from me.
She was mortified.
I was horrified.
Who has, you've both read the books, I assume, and seen them?
You don't count as a Harry Potter fan.
Okay.
You're like, yeah, I'm a huge fan of
I just want to get my barometer right. I want to see how hardcore we're talking.
Of course, it's important to remember that we're only seeing one side of the story here. Blake and her team have denied many of these allegations, and the legal battle is ongoing. The trial is scheduled for March 9th, 2026, so it will be a while before we get any kind of legal resolution to this mess. But in the court of public opinion, Blake's reputation is definitely taking a hit, and it's not just because of these specific allegations, it's also because the contrast between her perfectly curated public image and these behind-the-scenes stories is so stark. It's like finding out that your favorite Instagram influencer's candid beach photos are actually taken in a studio with professional lighting and extensive Photoshop. The authenticity gap is just too wide to ignore, and that brings us to a larger question. Why are we so fascinated by Blake and Ryan's relationship in the first place? Why do we care so much about their perfect-seeming marriage and their witty social media banter? Ryan's role and the perfect image crumbling. Now it's time to turn our attention to everyone's favorite Canadian funny man, Ryan Reynolds. Is he really just an innocent bystander in all this drama? Or is there more to the story? Let's find out. Ryan Reynolds has built his brand on being the likable, self-deprecating guy who doesn't take himself too seriously. From his hilarious Deadpool performances to his witty social media posts, he's cultivated an image as the ultimate cool dude who's in on the joke. But recent events have started to paint a different picture of the man behind the mask. Let's first talk about Ryan's alleged involvement in the It Ends With Us drama. According to Justin Baldoni's lawsuit, Ryan berated him during a meeting about the film. This isn't exactly in line with the chill, funny guy image that Ryan has cultivated. In fact, it sounds more like the behavior of someone who's used to throwing his weight around in Hollywood. And speaking of throwing weight around, Baldoni's team claimed that Ryan pressured WME, the talent agency, to drop Baldoni as a client after the drama with Blake started. While WME has denied this, it's worth noting that both Ryan and Blake are represented by WME. And shortly after the New York Times article about the drama was published, Baldoni was indeed dropped by the agency. Coincidence? Maybe, but also maybe not. Then there's the fact that Ryan and Blake allegedly threatened Justin and even wrote him a statement that he could read to the public to defend Blake when the controversy started spreading. This suggests that Ryan is not just standing by his wife, but actively participating in what some might call intimidation tactics. Not exactly the behavior of a nice, funny guy, is it? But perhaps the most telling indication of Ryan's true character comes from his work on Deadpool and Wolverine. In the film, there's a character called Nice Pool, who is widely believed to be a spoof of Justin Baldoni. Nice Pool looks like Baldoni, talks like Baldoni, and is portrayed as a performatively nice guy who gets violently killed off. Given the timing of the film and the ongoing feud with Baldoni, it's hard not to see this as Ryan using his platform to mock someone he has personal issues with.
But every line is ad-libbed, and not particularly well. It is just a bunch of jokes about the male appendage. This movie has now also become rather notorious because there's a character called Nice Pool, who apparently is a spoof of Justin Baldoni. He looks like Justin Baldoni, talks like Justin Baldoni. He's actually maybe the only character I kind of thought was hilarious in Deadpool versus Wolverine was Justin Baldoni's character, apparently. Here's what that looked like.
Who are you? Oh, I'm Deadpool. And I guess you're Deadpool too. But in here, everybody calls me Nice Pool. Oh my goodness, wait till you see Lady Pool. She is gorgeous. She just had a baby too, and can't even tell. I don't think you're supposed to say that. That's okay. I identify as a feminist. Right.
It's also worth noting that this isn't the first time Ryan's nice guy image has been questioned. In March 2025, a TikTok video went viral speculating about Ryan's sexuality, and Candace Owens commented on her podcast, suggesting that there have been long-standing rumors about Reynolds' sexuality and linking his emotional state to denying his truth. Now, I want to be super clear here. Speculation about someone's sexuality is inappropriate, and I'm not endorsing these rumors. But the fact that they exist and gain traction suggests that not everyone is buying the picture-perfect image that Ryan Ryan and Blake have been selling. Speaking of their picture-perfect image, let's talk about their infamous social media trolling. Blake and Ryan are known for their playful, humorous trolling of each other on platforms like Instagram and X. Ryan posts unflattering pregnant photos of Blake for her birthday. Blake jokes about Ryan's parenting during a movie promotion, and they have back-and-forth banter during high-profile events like the Super Bowl. While this seems cute and endearing on the surface, some observers have started to question whether there's something more going on beneath all the jokes. One thing's for sure, their social media presence is carefully curated to present a specific image, that of a perfect couple who love each other deeply, but aren't afraid to poke fun at each other. It's a brilliant PR strategy, but recent events have started to make people wonder if it's all just for show. Now let's be fair for a moment. Ryan hasn't publicly responded to many of these allegations, and it's important to remember that we're mostly hearing Baldoni's side of the story. But the fact that Ryan has remained largely silent while all of this plays out is interesting in itself. For someone who's usually so quick with a witty comeback or a self-deprecating joke, his silence on these serious allegations speaks volumes.
It was hard not to love the movie because you guys are so beautiful to watch that I was just like,
Well, hello. Everyone gains 10 points next to her. You go out. No, that's all you get today, though.
I know, I can't believe you.
That's it.
Like,
No,
never.
never.
Gotta keep her grounded.
No, yeah, absolutely. I've seen her go into a rage spiral. Oh my God. And most people's violence with her, it's just baking.
At just 23 and 34 at the time, Blake and Ryan connected with the theme of courage in the movie, their own, tested on set.
Did y'all catch that? In this old interview promoting Green Lantern, the movie where they met, Ryan casually mentions that he's seen Blake go into a rage spiral, and that most people's violence for her, it's just baking. He's laughing as he says it, but is he actually telling us something about Blake's temper here? It seems like such an odd comment to make about your co-star if there wasn't some truth to it. This brings us to a larger question. Why are people so fascinated by the potential downfall of Blake and Ryan's seemingly perfect relationship? I think people are genuinely intrigued by the disconnect between Blake and Ryan's carefully curated public image and the allegations that are now coming to light. It's like finding out that the high school golden couple who seemed so perfect together were actually miserable the whole time. It makes us question our own perceptions and judgments. There's also the fact that Blake and Ryan have positioned themselves as the ultimate hash couple goals for years. Their witty social media exchanges, their successful careers, their seemingly perfect family, it all adds up to an image that's almost too good to be true. And as these allegations suggest, maybe it is too good to be true. But here's the thing, even if Blake and Ryan aren't the perfect couple they portray themselves to be, does that really matter? All couples have issues and disagreements. No relationship is perfect, no matter how it looks on Instagram. The problem isn't that they might have problems. The problem is the potential hypocrisy of presenting one image to the public while behaving very differently behind closed doors. And that's especially problematic when that behavior allegedly involves trying to ruin someone else's career over a professional disagreement. If the allegations are true, Blake and Ryan weren't just having normal relationship issues. They were using their considerable power and influence to bully and intimidate someone with less industry clout than them. That's not just being imperfect, that's being a straight-up bully. If you enjoyed this video, click on one of the videos on your screen to see more videos like this.